Supervive is an incredibly deep game that is really confusing for new players. And now that we've gone over 5 things you need to know before you start playing, let's discuss 5 more tips that are actually going to take you to the next level. Starting with dropping power shards to other teammates. With the newest patch, the way you will reliably upgrade your equipment is through power shards after defeating enemy teams. Recall that when you level up a piece of equipment to blue rarity, it then gains a passive that the player can choose from. Some passives are better on some pieces of equipment compared to others, so it is important that you have an idea of what your teammates want and divvy out your resources effectively to optimize your gains. For example, this patch I'm probably going to play a lot of Zeph. Zeph doesn't really get that much out of his items compared to an Oath, for example. So early in the game, I would likely pass my power shards to my Oath so he can get his items faster than me, as he is more likely to get more value out of his kit with better items compared to me that more conceptually adds a ton of value to the fight, not just pure numbers. This can get confusing, but at the very least, press your caps lock button before you use a shard and make sure another teammate isn't on a green item when you have 2 blues. Be cognizant of the reality that passives are on equipment now and help your team if they need it. Another important objective to fight for is the Night 1 bosses that spawn near mana coils and on the Vein Grove vaults. These bosses grant powerful abilities and equipment depending on the game that can absolutely contain your win condition of choice. I'm talking about dropping powers like Veil Piercer and Team Frog Jump that are absolutely worthwhile to pick up. You can't just go there and pick it up no matter what you have though. It is really important that you take your early game at a fast enough tempo to have good armors or good powers before you run to this objective, because you will almost always have enemy teams contesting you off of this boss. So watch out for Kingpin hooks, but don't be scared. Hold your ground and fight for these powerful powers and opportunities. A way that you can make it even safer to take these objectives though includes using the radars around the map. I know it sounds super self-explanatory, but you would be surprised how many of the best players, yes, I mean the best players in the world in Supervive, that are simply not using radars on the map to inform them of nearby teams before they kill bosses, make rotations into later circles of the game, and more. But what you should take out of this shouldn't be, oh, well, if I happen to be nearby a radar, I might as well use it. The better way to think about this tip is to try and path through the map with radars being your priority. Wherever you drop, run that location fast, and then possibly path to a location that you can control that will have a radar nearby to allow you to take bosses safely, third-party teams for easier fights, and take the game over with information alone, not just aim. Looking back at my own point of view from the tournament last playtest, I wish I was doing this more. It's a real shame that it didn't cross my mind, because it lost me games straight up against Lemur's squad that is really good about doing this. If you have been watching my Supervive streams, you already know what the best item in the game is. Jump pads. They are absolutely insane, and every single one of the best players in the game right now will have at least one of them in their inventory at all times. This tool not only lets you rotate past enemy teams on the map in late circles, they also let you take fights where you otherwise were not able to. They did get nerfed in the sense that you can only have a maximum of 2 to 3 slots in your backpack, including your Vive brew, but they are still incredibly cheap at the shop and are a must-have in order to win most games. I will have a video coming out tomorrow showing just how strong these pads are in actual games, so this tip will be easier to exemplify in that video. Stay tuned. The final tip of the video is strictly about combat, and the fact that just because you can 1v4 every team, in theory, it doesn't mean you absolutely should. As you start getting better at the game, just start thinking about ways that you can use your teammates and their actions to open up the fight for you and vice versa. For example, does your character have a really bad matchup into one of the enemy players on the opposite team? Chances are one of your teammates has a favorable matchup against that enemy player. Instead of bashing your head into the wall and just trying to approach the fight by yourself time and time again, talk to your team and ask if they can do anything about a problem character to help you get value with them. I'm not going to sit here though and say that some characters aren't just blatantly overpowered. But when you start realizing that this game is a series of team fights and not 4 1v1s, you start winning a whole lot more and enjoying the game as a result. Now, if you are struggling to find people to play with in Supervive, I implore you to join my Discord, where you can meet other people to queue with that you can trust have the same knowledge base as you do, since they probably watch my videos as well. This game is better with friends and people you can talk to, so don't go it alone. Join the Discord and find a team to play with. Those were the 5 tips that the best players are utilizing that most people aren't. The game's release is getting closer and closer, and these are the tips that are going to carry on in importance years after the game's release to the public permanently. So the faster you learn these tips, the more fun you can be having for longer. But that's enough yapping. Get out there, slam some games while the playtest is up. But until next time, I've got to peace out and Paz out. I'll see you in the next one.